Hare Krishna, all the devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances and Dandavat Pranam to all of you. I invite you to the early morning short Bhagavatam class organized by ISKCON Radha Govinda Temple, Kulai, Mangaluru. And indeed, I invite you for and on behalf of His Grace Sri Ramanista Das Prabhuji. We will begin with prayers. Prayers are very important because we ultimately want to understand the message given by the Lord to us and put that message into practice. And that's why we need the prayers and the mercy of the Lord. Without the mercy of the Lord, that is not possible. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः नमो वैष्णवपादाय कृष्णप्रेसाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे श्री चैतन्य मनोविष्टं स्थापितेन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सागर रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्रीराधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे प्लीज फॉलो मी ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
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 ओम नमो
ओम
भगवते
नमो भगवते
वासुदेवाय
वासुदेवाय
नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमम्
नारायणं
नारायणं
नमस्कृत्य
नमस्कृत्य
नरं चैव
नरं चैव
नरोत्तमम्
नरोत्तमम्
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये
देवीं
देवीं
सरस्वतीं
सरस्वतीं
व्यासं
व्यासं
ततो
ततो
जयमुदीरयेत्
जयामुदीरयेत्
शृणुतां स्वकथा कृष्णः पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनः
शृण्वतां स्वकथं
शृण्वतां
कृष्ण
सकथाः कृष्णः
पुण्याश्रवणकीर्तनः
पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनः
हृदयन्तस्तु यभद्राणि विदुनोति सुरस्तथा
हृद्यन्तस्थो
हृदयन्तस्थो
हि अभद्राणि
ह्यभद्राणि विधिनोति
विदुनोति
सुहृतसताम्
सुहृतसताम्
तष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया
प्रायेषु
नष्टप्रायेषु
अभद्रेषु
अभद्रेषु
नित्यं
नित्यं
भागवत सेवया
भागवतसेवया
भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी
भगवती
भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके
उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति
भक्तिर्भवति
नैष्ठिकी
नैष्टिकी
Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, prescribed duties for mankind. Chapter 5, Narada Muni cursed by Prajapati Daksha, verse number 39. As you know, we are going through series of verses wherein Daksha is finding faults with Narada Muni. Those who want to recite the verse can raise their hand. Nanu Bhagavata Nityam Bhutanungrahakatara Nute Swasauradayandre Vairikarama Vairinam. Madhumai Krishnan Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, pranams Prabhuji. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Nanu Bhagavata Nityam Bhutanugrahakataraha Rute Tvam Saurudaghnam Vairam Karam Avairinam. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Usha Dayavati Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, pranams Prabhuji. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Nano Bhagavata Nityam Bhutanugraha Kataraha Rutatvam Saudra Jnanam Vaivaram Karam
Chitra Mohini Devidasi ji. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Nanu Bhagavata Nityam Bhutanugrahakataraha Rute Tvam Saurudhagnyam Vairankaram Avairinam. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you. Pranandini Madhvi Devidasi ji. Hare Krishna Mataji.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी प्रणाम प्रभु जी ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ननु भगवता नित्यं भूतानुग्रहकातराः ऋतित्वं सुहृदघ्नं ह्यपै वैरं कारम् अभैरिणम् हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी थैंक यू प्रभु
Thank you. Madhu Soni Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम प्रभु जी। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ननु भागवता नित्यं भूतानुग्रह कातरा ऋते त्वां सौहृदग्नं वैवैरिङ्करं वैरिणाम्। थैंक यू प्रभु जी। हरे कृष्ण।
Thank you. Uttama Padma Devidasi ji. Hare Krishna Mataji.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ननु भागवता नित्यं भूतानुग्रहकातराः ऋते त्वां सौहृदग्नं वैरङ्करं अवैरिणाम्। हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
Thank you. Revati Ratnagi Devidasi ji. Hare Krishna Mataji.
श्री कृष्ण प्रभु जी नमो वासुदेवाय ननु भागवता नित्यं भूतानुग्रहगादरः ऋते दे सौहृद किं वै वैरांगरम अवैरिणाम। हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Thank you. Venkata Narasimha Rao Prabhu ji.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी ननु
Hare
भागवता नित्यं भूतानुग्रह कातरः ऋते त्वां सौहृदग्नं वैरंकरम् अवैरिणाम। हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Scenery. Nanu, now. Bhagavata, devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nityam, eternally. Bhuta, anugraha, kataraha, very much anxious to bestow benediction upon the fallen conditioned souls. Rite, accept. Tvam, yourself. Suhrada Gragnam, a breaker of friendship, therefore not countable among the Bhagavatas or devotees of the Lord. Why, indeed, Vairam Karam, you create enmity, Avairinam, towards persons who are not enemies. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All the devotees of the Lord, but you, are very kind to the conditioned souls and are eager to benefit others. Although you wear the dress of a devotee, you create enmity with people who are not your enemies, or you break friendship and create enmity between friends. Are you not ashamed of posing as a devotee while performing these abominable actions? On the face of it, it looks as if the allegations put forward by Prajapati Daksha are baseless, but he is talking about himself. He has not been the enemy of the Narada, and still he complains that he created him as his enemy by sending all his children back to Godhead. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Such are the criticisms that must be borne by the servants of Narada Muni in the disciplic succession. What he means here, servants of Narada Muni, is all of us who are either devotees or preaching as well. So we are following the succession of Narada Muni, and that's why we all are servants of Narada Muni. Through the Krishna conscious movement, we are trying to train young people to become devotees and return home back to Godhead by following rigid regulatory principles. But our service is appreciated neither in India nor abroad in the Western countries, where we are endeavoring to spread this Krishna conscious movement. In India, the caste Brahmanas have become enemies of the Krishna consciousness movement because we elevate foreigners who are supposed to be Malechas or Yavanas to the position of Brahmanas. We train them in austerities and penances and recognize them as Brahmanas by awarding them sacred traits. Thus, the caste of Brahmanas of India are very displeased by our activities in the Western world. In the West also, the parents of the young people who joined this movement have also become enemies. We have no business creating enemies, but the process is such that non-devotees will always be inimical towards us. Nonetheless, as stated in Shastras, a devotee should be both tolerant and merciful. Devotees engaged in preaching should be prepared to be accused by ignorant persons, and yet they must be very merciful to the fallen conditioned souls. If one can execute this duty in the disciplic succession of Narada Muni, his service will surely be recognized. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, and they are talking about two verses, 18.68 and 69. Anyone would like to recite them?
I will, Prabhuji, I can give
Go
it.
ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yaidam paramam guhyam madbhakteshu abhidasyati bhaktim mayi param krutva mame vaishyati asamshayah न च तस्मान् मनुष्येषु कश्चिन्मे प्रियकृत्तमः भविता न च मे तस्मात् अन्यः प्रियतरो भुवि. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. These are the last two verses of the last chapter. Two verses of the last chapter. Translation. For one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end, he will come back to me. There is no servant in this world more dearer to me than he, nor will there even be one more dearer. Lord is talking about those devotees who are involved in preaching and doing preaching and spreading the message of Lord Krishna and Krishna Katha or science of Krishna. He says he loves them the most. He is the most dear devotee, and none other who may be doing more austerity, more penances, more devotions, but one who does preaching is most loved one by the Lord. Let us continue preaching the message of the Lord and not be afraid of enemies. Srila Prabhupada advises, because of this fact that Lord has told us in Bhagavad Gita, he says that let us continue preaching the message of the Lord and never be afraid of enemies. Our only duty is to satisfy the Lord by this preaching, which will be accepted as service by Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna. We are here to serve Lord Krishna and Lord Chaitanya, not the material world. We must sincerely serve the Lord and not be deterred by so-called enemies. In this verse, the word Surad Gnam, a breaker of friendship, is used because Narada Muni and the members of his disciplic succession disrupt friendships and family life. They are sometimes accused of being Surudagnam, creator of enmity between relatives. Actually, such devotees are friends of every living entity. Surudam Sarvabhutana. But they are misunderstood to be enemies. Preaching can be a difficult, thankless task. But a preacher must follow the orders of the Supreme Lord and be unafraid of materialistic persons. The last sentence of the purport usually, or the last paragraph of Srila Prabhupada's purport, is always a final conclusion or a punchline. It is so beautifully written here. If you look at it, preaching can be difficult, thankless task, but a preacher must follow the orders of the Supreme Lord and be unafraid of materialistic persons. The orders are executed by the Lord in those two verses 18.68 and 69, Lord very clearly tells us what to do and how dear that person is. So the verdict is out. We know that the origin of this verse spoken by Daksha Prajapati is because Narada Muni helped train the two sets of children, Haryasvas and Savalasvas, to go back to Godhead because both were very obedient, pious, disciplined, and controlled souls, very almost ready to get liberated. So instead of letting them enter into the material world and enter into the cycle of birth and death, he very wisely taught them the devotional service. And with their austerity and penances, and with their devotional service, they went back to the God. But this was contrary to the instructions given by their father. The father's agenda was to create the progeny in the material world. Since they did not produce progeny, there is always a thinking the father has and how his line of succession will continue. It gets disrupted if there are no children. We learned that every child has a debt to his father, and he gives this debt back or completes this debt by producing children in the material world. But then we also learn that those who are Narayana Parayana, or those who are totally surrendered to the Lord, have no such debt or duties to perform either to the people in the material world, to their father, or to the demigods or anyone else. They are exempted or freed from all the duties and debts. Now, Daksha is embarking on few bomb cells and saying that you are creating enemies who are not your enemies. And even if they are friends, you create the split between the friends and convert them into enemies. This he says, keeping himself in mind. And obviously, after this, he feels that Narada is his enemy. Srila Prabhupada explains in detail how Krishna consciousness movement has created animosity to some extent, at least in the beginning. He started accepting anyone and everyone who is pro-Krishna conscious movement and help them to learn the four regulative principles and help them to convert themselves into Dvija or twice born by a thread ceremony. These included those whites and blacks who are not otherwise Hindus. And these are called Malechas or Yavanas. And this created a lot of roar amongst the Brahmana community in India. How could you convert someone who is Malecha or Yavana into a Brahmana? Srila Prabhupada very boldly gave the Shastric explanation that anyone who is favorable to Krishna, anyone who is ready to follow the Krishna conscious movement with his rules and regulation can be initiated into a twice born by a thread ceremony. This was only one of the many revolutions that Srila Prabhupada created and was very successful. The second evolution that he created was giving the initiation to women. He even made them priests, gave them all the rights to those who are qualified to do arti and other temple activities as anyone else would do it. At that time, this was a revolution. No priest would be woman. No priest would be performing arti who is woman. Or no priest would be handling temple who is a woman. But this one was a necessity in the present situation. And he very successfully did this involvement. And now women are a large part of congregations almost across the Krishna conscious movement. So these two revolutions certainly goes to the Jagat Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, and his thinking, his concept, and his success is because of the Shastrics explanations, and he had been following the Shastras, the Gurus, and Sadhus. This too has created objections in the Western world and in the Eastern world as well. Making Malacha Brahmana is the issue for the Brahmanas here in India, and converting them into Krishna consciousness and taking them into a regulative field was an issue by the Westerners, thinking that they are deprived of a normal life. And what would one gain if one is deprived of the normal life? So as Srila Prabhupada says, the Krishna conscious movement, servants of Narada Muni, because we are following the Narada Muni, have been getting all back treatment, and it's a thankless job. However, Srila Prabhupada then explains into the 18.68 and 69 verses from Bhagavad Gita that Krishna himself says that for him, the dearmost is the one who is spreading his name and preaching Krishna Katha or pastimes of Lord Krishna. He says he loves that person most than anyone else, and there is no one else who is a more loved one than the preacher. And so Srila Prabhupada explains that since this is Krishna's order, very clearly mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, without any manipulation, interpretation, or doubts, because this is simply a translation. And that's why we must follow these thankless jobs. It is called thankless because in spite of working so hard, without any demand or desires from the reciprocation from the other party. We simply preach because Krishna loves our preaching. We follow the instructions of the Krishna that convert as many conditioned souls and show them the path of going back to Godhead, and thus break the cycle of birth and death. This thankless job also involves two other aspects, as Daksha Prajapati has explained here, that these preachers or these sadhus or these followers of Narada Muni, Srila Prabhupada, and all Gaudiya Sampradaya, they all create enemies and animosity from amongst the people. He also goes to extent saying that even the friends are converted into enemies by creating animosity amongst friends. As I said earlier, this has been because he thinks that he and Narada had nothing really against each other, and so they were friends. But they were certainly not enemies. But after the incidents of those two sets of children being sent back to Godhead, he has become the prime enemy of Prajapati Daksha, simply because he feels that his instructions were not followed by his children, and Narada Muni has been the cause of that not being followed. He considers Narada's preaching, Narada's intervention, and showing them the path of devotion, which has successfully brought them back to the Godhead. And so Narada is an enemy. He is not a friend of anything, but creator of enemy among the Surada. Friendship, as you know, has actually 4 classes if you look at it. Friend could be either a mitra, bandhu, sakha, or suhrut. These are actually grades of friendship. Mitra is hello and hi. It goes never further than that. But each other recognizes each other. And that's the beginning of friendship. Bandhu is like a brother. Brothers have soft corner for each other because they are living in the same house, having same parents, and sharing the food and the world around. Sakha is a further stage where it goes beyond brother, and brothers are friends. However, a very close friend is the one who is sharing his heart with the friend, and that's why he is known as Suhrut. So these are the 4 classifications of friendships according to the grades: Mitra, Bandhu, Sakha, and Suhrut. He says Suhrut Gram means the one who creates the animosity between the friends. However, Srila Prabhupada says that that's not true. Actually, all the devotees who are preaching are Suhrud Sarva Bhutana. For all the living entities, they are friends like Suhrud, or very close with their heart, even ready to talk with the hearts of the people. So that kind of friendship the preachers, the devotees are having and accepting. In spite of that, Daksha tells him, Narada Muni, to be an enemy creator amongst the friends. This verse is also one of the verse wherein Daksha has been continuing with all the abuses and faults finding in Narada Muni. We begin this process from verse number 36, and we have now come today to 39. You remember yesterday we had Niramukrosa, or without compassion, and Nirapatrapaha, means shameless. Today's words are Suhrudignam, that is a breaker of friendship, and Vaitari Avaitaram, a creator of enemy among the non-envious or non-enemies. So he is using two words today in the process of confirming that Narada Muni is a bad person. One is a breaker of friendship, that is Suhrudam, and the other is creator of enmity amongst the non-envious. And he also confirms that all the Lord's devotees except you are kind to everyone. Therefore, of course, he confirms that all other devotees are always kind to the conditioned soul, because they know how much conditioned soul is suffering by spending life in the material world. Srila Prabhupada's comment about this particular verse is, devotees are Suhridam Sarvabhutana, means they are friendly to all. Number two, devotees don't create enemies, but non-devotees become inimical. And lastly, he says, let us be tolerant, merciful, and continue preaching. Very important verse, and carries these three messages from Srila Prabhupada, that devotee is friend of all, devotee should continue preaching, and devotees never create enemies. So today's carry home message is very simple, that Daksha Prajapati is saying that Narada Muni is breaker of the friendship and creator of the enemies among non-envious. We will go on until verse number 43, where, because of all the reasons that are explained from verse number 36 to 42, in verse number 43, Daksha gives a curse to Narada Muni. A very nice verse, and Srila Prabhupada is writing excellent purport almost in every verses, and his unmatched proficiency with which he has written and very clear cut like mathematics. At very few places, Srila Prabhupada has been so critically conservative about spending words and very methodically proving like mathematics. Any question, any doubts, any revelation, any commentary, any addition, this is the time. Please go ahead. Hare Krishna to everyone.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yes, Pranadini Mataji.
From all these criticisms and rebukes that Daksha Prajapati is aiming towards Narada Muni, we are thinking, Prabhuji, that all of us, he is representing all of us, we are all materialist people. If our plans are foiled at any moment, we don't think of the far-sightedness of the Lord. Immediately we criticize them and find fault with them. That is true, na Prabhuji.
Yes.
We don't know that whatever Lord is willing or doing, that is good for us. We don't think about that. And whatever is Narada Muni is doing, that is for the ultimate good of all his children, that he does not think. He started rebuking him.
Yes. That's very true, Pranadini Mataji. Wonderful revelation. Thank you very much for sharing that. Actually, whatever happens to us or whatever reverses come to us, we always get panicked and start blaming people. Remember one thing, whatever happens to us only happens because of us. Whatever we do, we create the situation for us. No one else can ever be responsible for our reverses or for our problems or for that matter, anything that goes wrong with you. Thank you very much. That's a wonderful revelation. I would just agree on one addition of one more thing. I learned from somewhere very nicely that when some crisis or some grief comes along your way, remember that without Lord's sanction, nothing happens. And so that crisis or that issue or problem also has been sanctioned by the Lord Himself. If that is sanctioned by the Lord, what is the sense of trying to object or trying to find fault with it or trying to find people who are responsible for it? Anything that comes along to us, good or bad, is always sanctioned by the Lord. And so consider all the reverses that come to you, sanctioned by the Lord, and then pray to the Lord, asking Him to get you enough courage to fight it out and survive that crisis. It's not really that ever I would ask Lord to not give me crisis or problems, but give me strength enough to face it and survive. Whatever is going to come according to my karma, I'm going to face it. And Lord will always sanction because He remains neutral. He doesn't take anybody's sides. And so remember, whenever you get reverses, these are also sanctioned by the Lord. And so accept them with broad mind and open hearts. Thank you, Pranadini Mataji, for wonderful revelation. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Hare.
Prabhuji.
If there are no further questions, thank you very much for attending a class on Sunday morning. It's really a strong determination, and determination is always admirable. We'll again see you and have a nice Krishna conscious Sunday. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya vasindubhya evacha patita namo pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna to all of you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Krishna, thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much.